All right, welcome into another Auburn Live Show. It is Saturday morning. Appreciate everybody joining us. I'm Justin Hokanson from AuburnLive.com. With me, as always, on Saturday morning, it's the Modcast. That means Jeffrey Lee and Cole Pinkston joining us to talk anything and everything Auburn football, basketball, recruiting, all of that good stuff. Fellas, how are you on this bye week, this bye Saturday? That's what I'll say.
Bye week.
I'm on the mend. I'm on the mend.
It's a little depressing for me. I look forward to Auburn football. Yeah.
Oh, Cole, you're still young, buddy. You'll learn to appreciate these bye weeks.
Yes, I'm gonna enjoy watching a little bit of football. Well, let's talk about the team a little bit. By the way, everybody that's joining us, go to AuburnLive.com and subscribe. If you aren't, it's still $10 for a year, which is going to go away soon. I mean, it's a crazy good deal. So make sure you jump on that if you haven't already. All right, Auburn bye week couldn't have come at a better time. Winning that game and maybe getting some guys healthy. Let's just start with some broad thoughts, kind of when you have a chance to catch your breath and think about where this team is, Jeffrey, and where the season's at. You know, I think 8-4, like going into the year, is pretty much where everybody was kind of at. Like 8-4 would be good. 8-4 seems doable. That seems like that would be good. Are you still there? 8-4 seems almost more impressive now because of how good Arkansas
Absolutely.
is. So, like, where are you at, like right now with this team?
8-4 is the pinnacle. Is about as good as it's going to get this year. I think anything better than that is phenomenal season. I still think 8-4 is a great season and first year at Auburn with the guys that he has, the cupboard that he was left, the moves that he made in the transfer portal, some late signings in this class, making impacts. I think it's been overall. I'm encouraged. I'm not impressed. I mean, if they wanted Penn State and gave Georgia a better fight, then yeah, we're talking. But I'm very encouraged in what I've seen. First half, 4-2. First half of the season, is that right? 5-2?
Yeah.
5-2.
Yeah, 5, yeah.
5-2. With five to go. So I think encouraged is the best way for me to describe what I've seen so far from the staff, from Brian Harsin. Been some ups and downs, obviously. I thought going into Arkansas last weekend was big. I thought that was a big win. And got Ole Miss next week. Another tough one, man. And Cole probably knows more than me, but I don't like the matchup with Ole Miss. Don't have a lot of confidence in Auburn secondary. We saw what a good quarterback did to them in Penn State. So, if Auburn were to get Ole Miss, if Auburn could win out, I'll give Texas A&M and Alabama. Those are my two losses that I'm checking on the box right now. Auburn wins the rest of them 8-4. Probably a decent Capital One Bowl or whatever it is now. What the hell are the bowls now?
Yeah, Capital One or Gator or
yeah,
Outback, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's a great season, great stepping stone, great foundation for the staff first year. But those games are not going to be easy. I mean, Mississippi State, South Carolina, they ought to be able to go on the road and handle them. But those three, I feel like you've got to win.
Where you at, Cole?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Jeffrey, on the Ole Miss matchup. I don't really like that one for Auburn either, but I will say I think the secondary has come a little bit of a ways since the Penn State game. I think they've gotten better. One of the things that stood out to me in the Arkansas game was Jefferson, Arkansas's quarterback, was standing in the pocket for a long time sometimes. The pass rush wasn't getting home. That tells me coverage downfield was pretty good. So, I mean, they're one of the most efficient passing teams in the country too, Arkansas. So, to me, that was a good sign. I mean, you can't see if you're just watching on TV, you can't see how well the coverage is downfield, but that tells you that it was at least pretty good enough for him not to feel comfortable throwing the football. So, I think they've gotten better, and they had to do that before they played Ole Miss because they'll tear you apart in the secondary if you're not ready for them. So, but yeah, the season as a whole, I think it's going pretty well. I think one of the things that's interesting is the guys that he's brought in are making impacts, like you said. That's his eval. That's the thing we heard about him. He's a good evaluator. So he's bringing in guys that are playing, and Marcus Harris. He's playing really well right now.
Leota.
Yeah, Eku Leota. Demetrius Robertson had the deep ball in the last week, and they're starting to figure out how to use those guys. And those guys, obviously they knew what Harsin wanted from them when they came to Auburn. The guys that were already there had to learn, along the way, and still are in some cases from what I understand. But that's what he's done so far is pretty good. I want to see how he finishes out. I mean, because he's got some good pieces on the team. I think it's not everything he wants it to be right now, and that's obvious. So, seeing how he finishes out will tell you how good he is at making adjustments, and his coaching staff.
Cole, speaking of Demetrius Robertson, we talked, we haven't gotten to talk since the Arkansas game. But so let me go ahead and throw this out there. And I'm sure everybody's talked about this ad nauseum by now. But how about the freaking receivers, man?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, what would this season look like? Not saying the wins and losses would be any different, but man, it was so nice to watch a game. And I think Landon King had a drop.
Yeah, he did. He had
that's the only one I can remember off the top of my head. Everybody else was catching the football. They were moving the ball. It made such a big difference. And you're going, man, that's what you expect. A 95% catch rate at the least. So I'll give the freshman a drop on the road.
Yeah, it's amazing how much better Bo Nix looks too when leaps and bounds.
But that's what we wanted to see. I think we said going into this game, we want to see them not drop footballs. We want to see Tank have a damn game. No, not many no turnovers or bad penalties. And it was kind of what we got. And we saw Auburn. Did Auburn trail in that? Yeah, they trailed, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was
14-3
or something like that. It was the last
14.
Yeah, it was they scored right before half and coming out of half, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But other than that, man, I was very impressed with that win. I was very impressed with the wide receivers, with Bo Nix, with the offensive line. I thought it was one of Auburn's better games that we've seen this season, just from beginning to end. It wasn't obviously pretty. I mean, at some points, not perfect at all, but I thought that was a big win, a big performance by everybody. That's the receivers that we want to see week in and week out. If we see those receivers catch the ball with that catch rate throughout the season, I think 8-4 is at the worst that they can do. Really, I really do.
I agree.
Yeah, I think before the season, 8-4 looks more impressive to me now, because I think Ole Miss is better than, or I guess is it, we were thinking Ole Miss was going to be better, but we weren't sure.
Yeah,
and they look really good.
Yep.
Arkansas, I don't think anybody thought. Now Arkansas's lost 3 in a row, but I still think we would say that's a good football team. They lost to Georgia.
Oh yeah,
Auburn. And a 1-point loss.
They were ranked.
Ole Miss. I mean, that's a tough stretch.
They were top 10 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, they beat A&M. I know Arkansas lost 3 in a row, and now people might say, well, maybe Arkansas isn't that good. No, that's still a good team. That's still a good team. And so I think 8-4 now looks better than 8-4 before the season to me. And so I think where Auburn's at is a pretty good place. I mean, we kind of talked about how would you gauge this season. Bo Nix clearly is developing slowly but surely. He's looking better. There's still plenty of issues, but I think some of that might be roster X's and O's. I mean, Jimmy and Joe's kind of stuff. Look, you just mentioned Bo Nix. I think, Cole, you just talked about, or both of y'all just talked about how much better Bo Nix looks when guys drop the ball, when guys catch the ball. And I mentioned that. I thought it was such a good point, because Brian Harsin, at least twice this year, after Penn State and this past Wednesday, when asked about Bo Nix, at least twice, probably more, when asked about Bo Nix, he has made it a point to be to answer the question about Bo. Hey, how's Bo improving? What about that game for Bo Nix? Whatever, and made it a point to say, yeah, but it takes everybody. So after Penn State, somebody asked him about Bo Nix. He said, well, everybody's got to play better. Like there was a lot of mistakes out there, and then on Wednesday it was talk about Bo Nix's improvement. He was like, well, Bo's doing good, but the whole team, the whole offense did well.
Yeah.
And he's made it a point to do that. I think it's smart because he's saying, basically saying, look, if we win, it's not all because of Bo Nix. And if we lose, it's not all because of Bo Nix.
Right on.
Brian Harson's been really smart, I think, about like when people are trying, Bo Nix just gets so much attention. And he's tried to, I think, say, yeah, Bo's done well, but like other guys did well too. And it's amazing, like you said, it's amazing how Bo looks better when people catch the ball and block for him and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think somebody was asking me the other day, I think we have a good picture of Bo Nix now. Like I think we have enough information to make fair evaluations of Bo Nix on what he's responsible for and what he's not responsible for and what he can't control and what he can control. And to be really, really fair to him. And I like how Brian Harsin has approached not just Bo, but the team in terms of not too high, not too low about what they've done. I think it was, I don't know where he said it just a couple of days ago. It might have been after the game. Somebody's talking about, hey, coming off this Arkansas game, big win or whatever. And he's like, look, we don't think we have anything figured out. He goes, we don't think we have anything figured out. We're just trying to get better. And I don't know. I liked it. I like his approach so far. I don't know how it's all going to turn out years down the road, but I like how he approaches and like his demeanor and mentality. I would like to play for a guy like that. I feel like guys are going to be, pretty in tune, good or bad, with what's going on, under control, things like that.
Yeah, you can tell he's very, he says it all the time, but it looks like the team as a whole are starting to come together and do the little things better than we've seen them do in a while. Even to me, the offensive line, I watch the offensive line real close. That's what I'm always, keying on. They're starting to get movement against, defensive fronts that are supposed to be better than them, according to, rankings or whatever, preseason stuff. They're not doing it consistently, but they're getting better because they're doing the things, that Coach Friend and all them are teaching them. And you can see it. They're getting their hat on the right place. They're getting their hands. They're shooting their hands. They're coming off the ball better. And then you add Killian Zaire or Zero, however you say his name, in place for Troxel, who I thought was probably the most consistent offensive lineman so far this year. And he comes in and plays really well. So, yeah.
Did he? I know he was named Player of the Week, but like I didn't obviously watch.
Oh yeah,
great
I watched him
lineman.
pretty close.
That's the one position that I can't people ask me on the board like, what'd you think about? I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to pretend that I can watch a lineman and grade him out, man. That's just not going to happen.
Well, some of the things he did, just to me, he looks like the most athletic guy on the offensive line. That doesn't always mean he's going to be the best offensive lineman, but he looks like. What I mean by that is he's coming off the ball quicker than everybody else. He's able to climb to the second level quicker. They had him out on the toss play as the lead blocker a few times, and he was, making blocks in space. And that's why he's playing left tackle, by the way, because he is the most athletic guy. So there's a few times in the zone run game where he came off the ball, got a great hit on either the down lineman he was in front of or the linebacker, and then fell off of him because he's just not used to running those blocks yet. So it's a great start. I just like a lot of the things I saw from him. He's got to continue to get better, but he's got the tools, is what I'm trying to say. And he did some things that, opened up some plays that went to his side, especially on those toss plays. He was really good in space. So, and Troxel doesn't move that well in space, but he's been really good as a pass protector as the season's gone on and as in the run game too. So, as good as the offensive line has been, he's been one of the better ones. So, yeah, I just think he stepped in and did really well. And that was a big reason for Auburn's success.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they go. So Carson said Troxel is kind of, banged up. We talked about on the board knee issues, still hate it for him. But it definitely sounds like even when Troxel's healthy, that it'll be a competition now between those two guys, which is always a good thing. Well, competition's always a good thing, I guess. You wish you had starters that were that good, but competition's, I guess, never a bad thing.
Right.
You got to get Owen Papo back, man. Like, he's missed 4 games now. Zacoby McClain and Chandler Wooten had to have been hooked up to IVs after that Arkansas game. I mean, 90 plays, 25 tackles between the two. They need Papo back, especially against Ole Miss. If he doesn't play against Ole Miss, that worries me. I actually think I like Auburn's chances against Ole Miss, but without Papo, that worries me because they're going to play up tempo. They're going to run the ball. And if McClain and Wooten have to go another 90 snaps or something, I don't know how you make up for that in that game. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could maybe maybe Steiner or Cam Riley could still use some snaps, but we know that those guys aren't quite ready. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to have your leader back. You really need him for this home stretch. And the defense has been pretty damn good. The last 4 games without him. Definitely you got to have him back because this is probably the best offense.
Yeah.
Probably want your best defenders back for the best offense you're going to face.
Best passing attack. Honestly, they run the football well too.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a lot of things well. So, yeah, I thought we'd see a little bit more rotation with some of the younger guys at linebacker, but I'm pretty sure Wooten and McClain played every snap in that game. So, man,
about everyone certainly. I mean, to make that many tackles, 15 tackles for Zacoby and 10 for Chandler.
I think you called that, Justin, didn't you?
What?
I think you said Zacoby was going to have 15 tackles.
I thought he was on his way to 20 at one point. I'm like, good gosh.
Yeah, he's all over the place. But they keep him in the box. I mean, they keep him and Wooten right there, and I don't think I ever saw him leave the game. And I mean, if he can handle that, that's good. But you'd like to have a better rotation, especially when Papo comes back. I think makes your defense all the more better, right?
Yeah. Hey, somebody asked an interesting question on the board, and I answered it in the asked and answered piece on auburnlive.com. But I'd be curious to know what y'all thought, because I thought it was a good question, and that was, who are guys that have surprised you, both good or bad? Who are guys that were like, a little better than I thought, and then who are some guys you're like, I thought I was going to see more of him. Obviously there's somebody like Drayshawn Miller that you're going, what in the world? But who are some of those guys for you, Jeffrey? I'll start with you. Is there anybody like mine? I think I wrote about mine were, Iko Leota was a pleasant surprise. Marcus Harris to some degree.
Yeah, I hear you.
Pretty good.
More so with Leota, though.
Yeah, Leota's really. I mean, he's a really good player.
He's a difference maker for Auburn. Absolutely had to have that guy.
Huge.
Who are some for you that you think good and bad that you're like,
bad, and it's not a surprise to anybody, but man, I was hoping Smoke Monday might be better than he's just not. Yeah. I mean, he's not. He's just one of those guys that he's very noticeable because he's got that swag and he's all over the place and he's in front of the cameras and this and that and he's doing all that. But man, he's just not on the field. He's just not making it happen, dude. I mean, he's a liability for Auburn in the passing game, in my opinion. I thought Ladarius Tennyson would be the dude at nickel this year. I really did. I don't even know if he's still on the team. I see him on the Tic Tac making videos, but I haven't seen him on the team. And most of my complaints going to be with the secondary because I feel like they've cost Auburn some points, obviously. But Rogers has been good. Offensively, Jarquez has been better than anybody could have guessed. I mean, Jarquez. Oh, John Samuel Schenker. Hey, now, come on with it, big dog. Yeah. Now, he's had a fantastic season. Hey, all those cats have, man. Luke Deal. Whatever happened to the JUCO guy, Brandon Walker? That's not his name. Frazier, yes. I haven't seen him as much, and he came in with as much. When Auburn signed him out of JUCO, he was the big deal. I thought he was going to take over and be that number one tight end, but damn, John Samuel Schenker, Luke Deal. We saw Landon King has been playing some more, and I think Cole or somebody maybe it was Dong Dong today on the trampoline said on the corner of the message board that we were going to see a lot more Landon King.
Yeah.
So the tight ends, dude, the tight ends have been phenomenal in my opinion. Not only catching the ball, but blocking as well. I'm sure Cole has seen some blocks that these guys have made. Been very impressed with the tight ends. Let's see. I don't really watch the offensive line. I'm doing good just to tell you who's starting. Defensive line, nobody's really, made a difference in tackles for loss. I barely noticed Pegues. Now, people say he's been playing really good. I think Cole's a big fan of Pegues on the D-line. I think he's getting more reps, but I haven't really noticed him much. The candid observer I am. But those are some of the guys, man. The tight ends, the defensive backs on the down low, the tight ends on the up. Leota, obviously, to me, has been the newcomer of the year on defense, at least Jarquez offense. But those are some of the highs and lows for me for first half of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, you covered just about everybody I was thinking of, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Well, I was going down
I'll add Jalen Simpson. I think he has been a huge spark to the defense, especially I noticed that Nehemiah Pritchett played maybe less than he has been against Arkansas. Simpson played more. So, Pritchett had a rough game against Georgia. We know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's, I don't know. You could call that a fluke maybe because he's played well in every other game. But, hey, I think he may have gotten a few snaps taken away from him and given to Jalen Simpson, and Simpson keeps playing well. So, he's one that surprised me for the better. I thought I didn't know he'd bring such a spark to the defense. I'll put it that way.
Kevin Steele loved that kid. Thought he was NFL quality cornerback. I mean, he really loved Jalen Simpson. Really did. And Roger McCreary. Really thought both of those guys were NFL corners.
Well, he's been good before in evaluations. I mean, say what you want about Kevin Steele, but he's put some players in the league, so he knows what he's looking at. And I think both of those guys are, probably NFL players down the road. Definitely Roger. Maybe even Pritchett too. But,
What game did Jalen Simpson return? I'm trying to think. What did he? Was he back for LSU or? Yeah, he was. Yeah, he played LSU.
He played. I think he started getting some snaps in the Georgia State game, if I'm not mistaken.
Where'd he come back from?
He had a groin injury. But no, I was looking at. You mentioned Nehemiah Pritchett. Nehemiah Pritchett played 71 snaps against LSU. Of course, they were airing it out. But then he played 46 against Georgia, 47 against Arkansas. And yeah, I mean, so I don't know. He's about on par. He's had a number of games about that 40-ish snap range, but I think Jalen Simpson playing a little bit more. Simpson played more snaps against Arkansas than Pritchett did. Jalen Simpson played 67 snaps to Pritchett's 47.
Yeah, just from eyeballing it, that's what I thought. I mean, you go from being the corner you're matching up with, you're putting on an island out there to losing 20 to 30 snaps a game. So to me, that speaks to Jalen Simpson coming in and bringing that extra. To me, he brings physicality. I mean, he's a great tackler in the secondary, and he
wrapped you up, doesn't he? He knows how to wrap those ankles up.
Very good. He's very good at it. So that was something that was needed. Obviously, a lot of the secondary's problems have been tackling anyway. So, which brings me to my guy, who I would say is number one on my list for most. Biggest surprise in the best way is Zion Puckett. To me, I didn't expect him to be the safety next to Smoke Monday. I mean, I wasn't like Jeffrey was saying. I thought it would be Tennyson or maybe Knighton because we heard a lot about Knighton coming in. He played a lot of football in his career, and he's playing pretty well too. Had the big pick in the LSU game, but Puckett's. I mean, he's playing a lot of snaps. I know that for a fact. He's in there all the time, and he's always around the football, and he's actually been in some man coverage situations and done pretty well. He had that one completed on him in the LSU game. Butte. That was
and Treylon Burks got him.
Well, I mean, that guy's a first rounder, so
Zion. So you mentioned Zion. Look, I'm more bummed that Badarius Knighton. I thought Badarius Knighton was going to be better. You know, it's not really a slam on Puckett. I mean, I don't know. You probably like Puckett more than me, but I thought Badarius Knighton was going to start at that other spot and be a better player. And he plays a lot, but he's not quite. I think Jeffrey hit it. That whole secondary, really. I mean, we know what we had in McCreary and Pritchett and Simpson. And I think for the most part, they've been what they needed to be, right? Pritchett had a bad game against Georgia, but they underestimated Ladd McConkey. I mean, that kid can run.
Yeah, he's good.
But I think for the most part, those three have been, but like Monday in pass coverage, Kaufman, you don't see him as much. Tennyson's MIA.
Strange.
Knighton, so that's some of those guys. Drayshawn Miller, like he comes like with all this high praise, and he's just I might as well not even be on the team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So that secondary is probably the biggest group that there's a number of like, because before the season it was the secondary might be the strength. So many guys to rotate, so many players, and I don't see that now.
No, definitely not. That's been an interesting deal there, but like I said, I think they're starting to play a little better. But on the offensive side of the ball, obviously the receivers, the three, I would say, well, maybe two, Canyon and Capers, I thought for sure those guys would be more involved. And I'll even throw Javaris Johnson in there. I mean, when we were talking to people, that were close to the program and knew things and saw how things were going, they were like, yeah, man, Javaris Johnson's going to be one of the top receivers here. I mean, he's going to have a lot of catches. He's got some big plays, but he's not like a guy that they're going to 10 times a game. I mean, they get him on the deep ball every once in a while, maybe a drag or something, but I thought he would be more involved in that way, and that he hasn't been. So maybe it's a lingering injury, but that's one that sort of shocked me a little bit, and then Canyon and Capers just basically no shows. They're starting to go to Capers a little bit more, targeting him like once or twice a game, but I mean he's not one of the top guys at all, and I thought he would be for sure. But go ahead, Jeffrey.
No, I'm sorry. Finish up because I'm going to transition for us.
I was just going to say offensive line too. Okay. Two guys. One guy I thought has played better than I expected is Nick Brahms. Yeah. A guy that has played worse than I expected is Brandon Council.
Yeah. Ooh. Hey.
I could go into it, but I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Now, see, so from the casual observer like myself, when it comes to offensive line, the only time I notice them was when they give up a sack or have penalties.
Yeah.
And he's done that quite enough because I've seen this. I think he had 2 penalties in the first half against Arkansas.
Yeah.
So yes. It's kind of like the DBs too, man. Unless they're getting burned or something, you don't really hear their names.
Yeah.
But so going back to the DBs, and we're talking about how all the guys they brought in the offseason, these transfers guys, we were thought that this was going to be a big strength, and we see what they've got right now, and then when we see what we know what they're trying to do in this recruiting class, which is bring in more guys. I mean, load up in the secondary. They obviously don't have the confidence in the guys they have now or the guys coming up, because we know that they're probably, or ideally, they would like to take 2 JUCO safeties. We know Juwan Gaston, who signed, I think, back in December, qualified, but got in late and ended up going to Hutchinson Community College. Yeah. They want to bring him back in January. He want to bring his team. They want to bring both safeties from Hutchinson, Juwan Gaston, Marquise Gilbert. They want to bring in a JUCO cornerback. We know Keontae Scott's the top target there. And then you've got Caleb Wooden committed. You've got Kobe Albert committed. You've got Trey Donaldson committed. And they want more. They're going after the Jadarian Rhyme kid that's committed to LSU from Valdosta. Austin Osbury from Lafayette, New Orleans, and the car, isn't it?
Baton Rouge, I think. Yeah.
University Lab. He's in University Lab, Baton Rouge, right?
Yeah.
So man, they're wanting to load up in that defensive backfield once again. So that kind of gives you an idea of what they feel like they need now. So and both of those guys we talked about yesterday in the war room. Auburn's Zach Etheridge has been all over the country this week. All the coaches have. I think it's been very impressive. To see what they do and to see who they're targeting. That's what I enjoy the most. Is who's important to them. We've seen them go out and hit 2023 guys in Texas. Zach Etheridge was there Thursday, hitting some guys in Guyton, which is in a couple of stud DBs. Saw Cadillac Williams down in Fort Myers, seeing Richard Young, a 5-star running back, 2023. Seen, we have high expectations. We, as people who follow this, we have higher expectations for Auburn's 2023 class than we do 2022. Although what we've seen so far has been very, very encouraging for this 2022 class. I think when I look at the bigger picture, Hoke, when you go back to the start of the show and kind of what my big pick, I'm looking at recruiting too. I'm keeping that in mind. I'm thinking about what Eston Harris, what EJ Harris, and Drew Bobo both said after the Georgia loss. They were encouraged by what they saw. Both committed shortly thereafter. And we've, Austin Osbury, cornerback from Baton Rouge down there. LSU, with LSU, Orgeron's gone at the end of the year. Florida State's sucking it up, and Auburn's just poaching. I mean, that's what they're doing. And at this point, we talked about this before, but we've gone through the COVID year, and all these kids kind of committed early. Everybody was trying to get a spot, and now it's the big reset, right? I mean, Travion Williams has been committed to Florida State. He's opened things up. Travion Fagans decommitted from Miami, went to Alabama. Trey Woody's thinking about flipping. So Shamar James just decommitted from Florida. A lot of these guys are reopening. I mean, it's the big reset right now, and Auburn is in a great position to take advantage of that. Some of these guys that made a decision early, but are reconsidering, and Auburn certainly right there for a lot of these guys.
Yeah, you mentioned the secondary, by the way, and yeah, you're right. I mean, you look at it, McCreary's going to go pro. Pritchett, I mean, he's a senior. Pritchett's a junior, could go pro. Smoke's gone. But Darius Knighton is a senior. He was a grad transfer. So, and then, I mean, even, So, I mean, those 4 guys are gone, but you're talking about two of your top 3 corners are gone. So there's going to be some rebuilding that happens in the secondary, as well as even linebacker. I mean, gosh, if Papo goes pro, Wooten and McLean are both seniors, and they're all gone. So a defense is going to be completely rebuilt next season. I mean, you're losing a lot at secondary linebacker.
Are all these regular seniors, Justin? Because the super seniors is what I've always considered, right? So if you were a senior last year, it doesn't matter because you're now a super senior, right? You got the extra year of eligibility from COVID.
Yeah, if they want to use it, I guess. Yeah. And so if you're Zacoby or Chandler, so Chandler could come back. And Zacoby, maybe it depends. Papo seems like, well, I don't know, his injury, him being out, maybe there's more to think about there. He's primed to go to the NFL at some point. But you're right about the secondary. There's guys that, I feel like Pritchett is going to go anyway. I don't know. I could see him jumping. I could see him jumping and get, because he's a good enough athlete to get drafted probably.
Yeah. He'll test well, I think.
Yeah, he'll test well, and he might, especially if he thinks if he thinks he's going to get some snaps taken next year. But I think that's fair. So you guys talked about recruiting. Obviously, the war room is up on AuburnLive.com. Auburn gets the 2 offensive tackles. We're waiting on Darius Clemens. We're waiting on Tay Woody. Where do things stand? Woodyard. Where obviously so. We probably need to mention this. On 300 is going to happen here like anytime now. The On 3 is going to have their rankings that are going to come out, and by signing day, there will be rankings and top 25 schools and all that stuff. So it's a little hard for us to say, where, because we don't exactly know where Auburn's kids are going to be ranked.
Right.
To then say if they're going to finish with a top 18 or a 15 or a 12
that's
class.
Tough, man. Yeah.
But so we'll wait before we can kind of give those projections. But are y'all hearing the things that you want to hear from kids in terms of trying to build a culture and build a program? I mean, are they the things that because I remember back in the beginning, right? Like we heard, I don't know who it was, maybe it was Jay Fair, real beginning, that said, "I trust Harsin. I just trust him." And
Michael Riley Duggar too.
Yes. Yeah. Are you still hearing that kind of stuff from
yeah, oh yeah. As a matter of fact, more so now. I mean, because we've had a bigger sample size, right? You're looking at what these guys have done on the road at Penn State, the 2 losses, right?
Yeah.
And these kids see that, and they visited, and kids from Washington, Malik Agbo. I talked to him Thursday night. Eric Keesall went up there and saw him play. Went and saw Darius Clemens on Friday. Malik Agbo is this big offensive tackle who's going to either choose Auburn, Florida, Miami, Oklahoma, or Texas. And I'm telling you, this kid really likes Auburn. He's never been. He's coming for the Mississippi State game. But when you got kids up in Washington State and up in Oregon, Darius Clemens, who's Auburn been on for a long time, he'll probably come back for the Iron Bowl. Those guys, they see it, and they see the chance to play. They like what these guys are doing. Everything to me so far has been very positive. And I think a lot of that has to go with, yeah, sure, they've won some ball games, right? But the way that they've lost the 2 that they have, I think again, I keep using this word encouraging, man. You look at it, it's not a Gus Malzahn loss. All the Auburn fans know what I'm talking about. Gus Malzahn wouldn't shit the bed, right? I mean, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, okay, well, you lost with the same 5 plays. I mean, the X's and O's that this staff is putting on the field is winnable at any game. I love what I know about, but I'm just telling you what I've seen is these guys putting in game plans and stuff. That's man, it's working. Yeah. If they just had the Jimmies and Joes, that's the vibe I've gotten from everybody across the country, from not only 2022 guys but 2023 guys as well. Man, we talked about the visitor list for the Georgia game and all those stud D linemen and guys from the 2023 class that were there. Not once have I heard boo, boo, boo. It's all very positive. I'm very curious to see. I don't think Auburn's going to slam dunk this class. I don't think they're going to get everybody that we talk about each week. But I think they're going to get, half of them, at least. I mean, when you look at the big dogs that we've talked about, Malik Agbo, Darius Clemens, Curtis Perry on, edge, Terrion Williams. What's his name? Trevion Williams. Austin Osbury, Jadarian Rhyme, all these kids that they're going after, Trayvonte Citizen, the LSU commitment. So there's a lot of big dogs, man. But if Auburn can get like half of them, and then finish out with some of these culture guys, these fits that Harston loves, then I think it's going to be a great class. I don't know, like you said, Justin, I don't know where it's going to rank. I don't know what South Carolina's going to end up doing, or Oregon, or anybody else, Texas, whoever. I don't know how they're going to do. But if Auburn gets half of those guys and then gets some guys to fit that they want, some JUCO guys, and then hit that portal. We saw him going after the Syracuse wide receiver, offered him this past week. So they're out there, they're busting butt. But I think it's going to be a very respectable class, regardless of where it's ranked. And then my expectation for that 2023 class is going to be top 15 at worst.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's possible. I'll add too, Jeffrey, that some of the responses that I've gotten are just the relentlessness is paying off, because where before we'd see kind of the staff would maybe miss on a guy and then circle down to the next level that they have, the next tier that they've evaluated and go, okay, let's try for these guys now. We'll still recruit this guy that committed elsewhere, but we're gonna focus on a guy that we think we have a better shot with. That's not how this staff operates. They have a certain list of guys they think fit the program, they think are talented enough, to be NFL guys or whatever, the guys they like. And those are the guys that they recruit until the very end. They put all their effort. I'm not going to say that they put all their eggs in one basket, but if they don't land some of these guys, it's going to be tough, because they're putting a lot of effort in there for the guys that are committed elsewhere, because they're the guys they saw, at the very beginning of the class and said, these are the guys we want. And they're not quitting on them. And that means something to the ones they're recruiting.
Yeah.
The guys you mentioned, like Rhyme, he's been there a long time. They offered him in February, I think, or March. Terrence Welch is another one that's at LSU that has been recruited by Auburn for a long time.
Deuce Spurlock.
What'd you say?
Deuce Spurlock.
Yeah, Deuce Spurlock and
Micah Pollard. They're going
Pollard. Yeah. Robert Woodyard. Robert Woodyard's another one. He's been hearing from Auburn since Harsin got there, basically. And they don't quit on these guys. And that can be really dangerous. It's kind of a thin line there, but I think they're gonna win some of those battles, I think. And it's looking like they're gonna get a few right now. They still got a ways to go. But they don't have a ton of spots left. So they have the luxury of really, throwing the book at these guys and trying to get them, which is, you'd like to see that as an Auburn fan, that they're gonna go for the best guys no matter what. Doesn't matter where they're committed, they're gonna fight to the end for them. So that's what I hear from the recruits. Justin asked, what are you hearing? What's the response?
Yeah.
That's what they say. Just the relentlessness is big.
Can I make this observation? And I don't know. It's just an observation. But I remember in the beginning, we heard a lot about, the staff's too uptight. They better loosen up. If they want to land these kids, they better have more fun. They're all ball. They're too serious. Heard a lot about that. It seems like I heard rumblings of that. And I can see that, right? Like I can see Brian Harsin now that I listened enough to Brian Harsin. I'm like, okay, I get it. But in the beginning, I was like, maybe they should loosen. Like I was kind of on the side of, Jeffrey, I don't know. Like you've obviously been through staffs. I've seen what a fun-loving, jovial staff can land. Like I've been through the trooper and the looper and the days, and you get you can get some studs. But I think we would all agree that culture turned to shit.
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
So I'm looking back now thinking, the more I've watched Harsin, I go, hey, that's perfectly fine, because I'm going to tell you right now, if they don't stick to their guns and recruit kids that love football, if they don't, they won't last in under Brian Harsin. So the people that are like, we need to do more, we need to loosen up so we can get these kids. No, you don't. You better just let them recruit the right guys, because they won't last under that staff the way that Harsin wants to run things. It ain't going to work.
That's exactly, absolutely.
It goes back to the word fit, right? He doesn't. This staff, and I'm talking more about Harsin. I mean, everybody has their own personality in recruiting, but they all, fall under the umbrella of the coach's personality, obviously. But he's not interested in, doing something that's not what they do in order to get a player. They have a certain culture that they want there. They have a certain, fit, as they say. That could mean in the way they play, in their talent level, in their character, in the way they do things, in their work ethic, all of that. That's what they're going for. And if the guy doesn't fit the bill, then they probably won't keep recruiting him for a long time, because we saw everybody kept talking about how many offers were going out back in January, February, March, just offers left and right. I mean, they probably offered 100 DBs, right? And now we look at the DB board and there's only 7 guys on there, Jeffrey? Mm-hmm. So, or 7 or 8 on the corner board, and then you got some safeties. 10 altogether, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, they narrowed it down. Those were the guys that fit, their personality. Other guys maybe more talented, but they don't fit what they're trying to do. So that's the way they roll, and we'll see what happens. Maybe that's the mentality that works here at Auburn. Maybe that's how you get the long-lasting success. We'll see. That is
how you get the long-lasting success. And the talent will come, but you gotta set the foundation and get the kids and build the program, and then you start winning, then you'll get that talent. You better go get the 5-star that also, elite, like that super rare,
right?
Super talented and also fits the culture. Like you better go get those guys.
The Derek Browns.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Any parting shots? Anything we didn't cover that you want to hit on before we head out?
No, next weekend will be big. Ole Miss coming into town. Got some official visits coming in. Marcus Gilbert's coming. Probably, though, the biggest thing we'll be watching next weekend is basketball recruiting. Chance Westry's coming in. London Johnson, the 2023 point guard from Georgia, is coming over for an official visit. Most importantly, Jarris Walker is going to Houston for an official visit, and then we'll be announcing his commitment November 4th. So lot building up to next weekend. Enjoy this off week. Watch you some football. Drink you some Zimas if you've got some. Have you a cigar, and get ready for next weekend.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'll say too, with the coaches out on the road right now, we saw a bunch of offers go out to 23 guys, 24 guys, but I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a couple more 22 guys get some offers. So be on the lookout for that. I think they're probably, with these visits, going to help lock up maybe a few guys and get some guys in the class here in the next month or maybe weeks. We'll see. So, keep an eye out for that stuff. I think recruiting is probably heating up a little bit right now.
Heating up, and the better Auburn does on the field, the more it's gonna heat up and maybe change things a little bit. Certainly, maybe it won't cause new offers, but maybe they get back in the game or can sway a kid that's on the fence or something like that. So we will see. All right, appreciate everybody joining us. Thanks, guys. AuburnLive.com. Make sure to subscribe if you aren't. Like Jeffrey said, enjoy the weekend, and we'll be back next week as Auburn prepares for Ole Miss. See ya. Bye.